Welcome to another edition of the Black Wealth Experience podcast. And I am so excited today. We have CHFA on with us today, and they have some programs that are available for folks to be able to get in homes. And of course, you know, the whole reason that we're doing this podcast, the whole reason is so that we can promote home ownership. We realize that when we think about it, that the first stepping stone to personal wealth and to generational wealth is probably through home ownership. And whatever the reasons have been in the past that folks in our community have not been able to get into homes, we want to rectify that. We want to make sure that every single person who desires to have a home and is working towards it, that we find ways for them to realize home ownership. You know, when I think about the apartment complex, and I say this often, is I think of, you know, people are spending $2,000 and $3,000 a month on apartments. I'm working with, you know, some clients right now that went and found a home this weekend that they're excited about, that they put in an offer on. But 6 months ago, they didn't think it was possible. They didn't think they had the ability for home ownership. And they've been spending a little over $2,000 every single month for the last 8 or 9 years. So when you look at that, you go, okay, so $2,000 a month in 1 year is $24,000 that you're giving to a landlord and paying their mortgage, right? Whose mortgage are you paying? You do that same thing for 10 years. Now you've given that landlord $240,000, which could have brought you definitely a portion of a home. It would have bought that unit that you're probably in, and he's still making that $2,000 a month and increasing the rent. And so we want to make sure that happens. And one of the programs that allows us to do that, and this is the CHFA, which is their mission, and I just pulled it up on my phone here. Our mission is to strengthen Colorado. So this is a Colorado-based organization by investing in affordable housing and community development. And so we have Paige and Matt on today. And Paige and Matt, I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves. Just tell us about how to get in contact with you. What are those best ways before we jump into all the cool stuff that you do?
Matt, do you want to go first?
I'd love to. So my name is Matt Lynn. I'm the Public Relations and Communications Specialist with CHFA, the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. And it's a pleasure to be here, Brian. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. We love being able to help with this endeavor. We believe in home ownership as well. My name is Paige Omahundro. I am the Business Development Manager within the Home Finance team at CHFA. And it's the business development team that's responsible for working with potential home buyers, realtors, and lenders by going out, doing outreach, promoting our programs and services. So if you're new to CHFA, we encourage you to visit our wonderful website that has a wealth of information. It's simply, you can go there by typing in CHFA info, info.com. But if any kind of home ownership question that you might have, we have a email that is homeownership@chfainfo.com that you can email, and any member of the business development team, including myself, can respond with any question that you need an answer to.
Oh, that's so cool. So the Colorado Housing Finance Authority, that sounds super official, super like, you know, this is one of those places am I scared to go to? But right. It sounds like you guys have, you know, resources for people. And so it's something they want to go to, not something they're scared of, like IRS or something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you asked that question, or you made that comment, because we've conducted focus groups on, because we refer to ourselves as CHFA. That's how most people know us, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's this back and forth. We are not a state entity, so we don't receive any state appropriated funds. We are a quasi-governmental but nonprofit, you know, mission-based organization that has been around since 1973. So we've been doing this a while. We'd love to call ourselves the experts. But if anything, we want to be Colorado's, like you said, we are a statewide organization serving in the whole state. We want to be your trusted partner as you pursue affordable housing in our state, whether that's on the multifamily rental level or, you know, where I come into play with home ownership.
Absolutely. And when I was on the state housing board, and I've since turned out of doing that, you guys were one of the main organizations that we talked about often. almost every single month, and what you guys were doing for people and helping folks, not just in the Denver metro area, but throughout the entire state. There were a lot of, times where folks were trying to figure out what they were going to do in this affordable housing space to make sure that folks were being served the best that they possibly can. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. I'm so glad that you are on to really talk about some of the wonderful things that you do. But before we run into the exact, okay, this is what we do as an organization, can you just tell us a little bit about yourselves? Like, why did you get into this space? What is your, I guess, your reason for getting up and staying with CHFA on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? What does that look like? Why are you here?
Do you want me to go first, Matt? Well, I mean, I love this question. And I'm kind of, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say I'm cheesy, but I've worked in sales before when I thought I wanted to be my own boss, right? And get out there and do what I wanted to do. But I really found out that where I find joy is in serving and helping others. So, and given that we work 40 hours plus a week, we better love what we do. And my older sister gave me a keychain that says, love what you do what you love. And it's certainly something that resonated, and I'm glad that she gave that to me because she saw that in me as well, that is important to me. So being able to help others, help them, more importantly, achieve whatever their goals are, is what gets me up in the morning.
Oh, that's so neat. Thank you for sharing that, Paige. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, similar answer to Paige. I for the last couple of years leading up to coming to CHFA, I was more in the consulting world. So I would go into local communities and talk about housing, and we would, talk about various ways to address housing challenges kind of across the housing spectrum, everything from housing that's going to help folks who are immediately exiting homelessness all the way up to folks who may be purchasing a home for the first time, as we're discussing here today. And one of the things that stood out to me about CHFA in the midst of that work is whenever they came into a community or they intersected with a project, they were always, CHFA was always very open to innovation. They were open to new ideas, and they listened. They didn't just come in and say, hey, we have this answer for you. Here's how you can get to the next step. But they were agile, and they listened. And that really stuck out to me because that's unusual for organizations. And it kind of planted a seed in me to say, if I ever had the opportunity to exit the consulting world, maybe kind of go back to working for an organization, CHFA might be on the top of my list. And so when that opportunity arrived, I took it because I really believe that, CHFA takes a unique and positive approach to working within communities, and to not coming in as you said, Brian, sometimes it can be intimidating, this sort of housing authority that covers the whole state, not coming in and dictating, but rather taking a posture of collaboration and listening. And we do try to embody that and value that.
I love that. I love the fact that you brought up listening. I literally just finished. I do a daily, social media post called Brian's Mindset Daily, and the last 5 posts were all on active listening and how important it is, and how to respond to people. And when you start thinking about that, if you find an organization that is willing to come in and listen first, and then go into, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is how we can help you. Because it's really hard to help somebody if you don't know what they want, right? You decided to determine what they wanted, and then people jump in so quickly. And in my world, in the lending world, it's the same thing. People call up, and if I'm not listening to their goals and dreams, and sometimes I go back and forth on, rates or, whatever you have it that they have in there. But if I don't know what their goals and dreams and what they want to do, then why am I competing with somebody else over a rate if I don't even know what the client wants, right? And so, that's what's so neat, I think, about what you guys do. Now, you said, Paige, love what you do and then do what you love. So I want to find out what you do, because I know, CHFA does rental, rental housing, and they help out with that. And I know they do business lending, and I know they do, community partnerships and that kind of stuff. But today we're talking about home ownership. And you guys are in that space. So what is it that why would somebody utilize CHFA, or what is it that you guys actually do to help the community? And either one of you can answer that and go through that, but I would love to just hear that.
Yeah. So as I said, we want to be your trusted partner on your home ownership journey. And part of that is that we want to help you get into the home. And we do that through working with a network of participating lenders like yourself, right? That can help clients with our fixed rate loans. And then depending on the program, we have down payment assistance funds that can be coupled with those first lien loans, helping the individual get into the home. Because what we find, you don't have to get down payment assistance with us, but what we find overwhelmingly is that most individuals that are coming to CHFA do, in fact, need those additional funds or want to tap into those additional funds so they're not depleting all of their own savings, so that they have that rainy day fund, when they do need to make a repair or have an emergency happen in their household or their life circumstances, that they have those funds. So through our network of lenders, we offer those products so an individual can take advantage of a conventional FHA, USDA, or VA loan, and then with that, get up to 4% in down payment assistance funds. We just changed our guidelines, the max that you can get from us, depending, it's the lesser of the $25,000 or 4% of your total loan amount. So just to use an example, right? I'm going to use easy math because I need to. If you got your loan was $100,000, CHFA could give you 4% of that, so $4,000 for down payment. And this is the other thing, you probably deal with this a lot, Brian, that you have your clients come to you and say, well, I just don't have enough down payment. And you ask them, how much do you have? And they tell you, and you're like, well, you're in good shape, because so many people still believe that you need 20% down to purchase a home. I mean, that's my job security right there. I will forever be teaching that to folks, because you can get into a home with CHFA specifically for 3% down. So I think that's important for your audience to know.
Yeah, no, that is, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I would say the number one issue that I have with folks not believing, even this weekend, I was at an apartment complex. I was talking to a gentleman. He had a really nice Mercedes at the apartment complex. So of course I went to ask him, and I said, I see you're here. Have you ever thought of getting a house? He says, I can't afford the down payment. I said, how much do you think that down payment is? And then I talked to somebody else, and the other thing that they told me is they could use down payment assistance, but were kind of worried that they were taking something like welfare or something like that. And what my comment back to them is probably I would say I'm not making this statistic up, but based on my own personal knowledge, that 90% of the people in our country get some type of down payment assistance to buy their own house. For a lot of people, it's their parents. Their parents are coming out and they're giving them some kind of down payment assistance, or an uncle or an aunt or somebody else that is helping them in this first-time purchase. I know that's how it was for me, and then this is how I want to be for my kids and my kids' kids, that there's something from somebody else who is helping out in some way. It might not be just on funds. I mean, some people might have saved up, and I don't want to take anything away from people who saved up 20 or 30%, but it's so not necessary to think that I have to, on a $500,000 house, that I have to come up with 20%, $100,000 or whatever that is, in order to be able to move into a home. Because then it's in my mind, there was one of the first folks that I did was a grandma who just got her first house a few weeks ago. And she said when she was in her 20s, she put a number in her mind that she had to have in order to buy a house. And for 20 years, that number stuck in her head, and she thought she could never achieve it. And then when she found out, hey, there's an organization like CHFA out there that is willing to give up to 4%, all the way up to $25,000. That's a pretty big size house, up to that $25,000 of that 4% to be able to get down. What would you say to somebody who's calling up, and like, what are some of the qualifications or the things that they have to already come to? I mean, like, one is, I know you have to have a job, right? I mean, that's kind of you can't just show up at CHFA and say, I haven't worked in 10 years. Could you give me a house, right?
Yeah.
What are some of those other things?
Yeah, we have a few basic requirements, and I'll run through those. So all borrowers, so anyone that's going to be on the loan, right, that's taking out the debt, needs to have a credit score. And this is surprising to some folks too, the minimum credit score of 620. So it's that someone with that credit score may think that they may not qualify for a home, but they certainly might. So it's worth having a conversation with the lender. Then because we're mission based, all of our programs have income limits. So you can't be over a certain income. And in fact, just today, we released new income limits on all of our programs. They vary by program and sometimes by county and household size. But here's the thing that I think will also be surprising to some of your listeners is that we have one program or a few programs that have a statewide income limit. That statewide income limit went up to $160,300 today. So that's a very nice income.
Yes, it is.
I think I would like to have that income. Yeah. And so, sometimes people think, well, I may not qualify because I make too much, right? But please know that we go up to that high limit. Also, because we believe in being a successful home buyer, we want you, of course, to get in the home, but we want you to stay in the home. So we're going to require all of our borrowers to attend a CHFA approved home buyer education course. And CHFA doesn't teach that course. We partner with some fabulous HUD approved housing counselors across the entire state. And so if you're interested in home ownership, still a little bit scared or overwhelmed, this is a great place to get started, to be informed, to make that next decision. We also want all of our home buyers to have a little bit of stake in the game. So they need to come to the table with $1,000 that they can put towards the transaction. But Brian, as a lender, you probably know this, an inspection fee, an appraisal fee. Right there, you've probably covered your $1,000 needed, right? Or getting pretty darn close. So all of that that $1,000 can be used towards some of the costs to getting the mortgage. And then last but not least, like you said, everybody's got to have a job. Of course, everybody has a job, but I'm going to put it this way. We're not necessarily making it any easier for an individual, but we're not making it any harder for an individual to qualify for a mortgage. Everyone still has to be able to qualify for a mortgage. And when I say that, and you can speak to this a lot better than I can as a lender, you're going to qualify that home buyer, right? Based upon the loan types, guidelines, right? You as the lender are going to make sure that they have the ability to pay that money back based upon that loan types guidelines. So I'll just throw that out there.
No, I love that. And I think you blew me away with some numbers. Like you said, $160,000. That's $13,000 a month. And I'm assuming that's for the couple or the together. When you think of when I think of a home that's in the $400,000 to $500,000 range, I'm thinking of a payment that's somewhere between $3,000 and $3,500 a month in that range, even with the interest rates where they're at today. And so when you think of affordability, somebody who's has that kind of money coming in, that's $10,000 of additional after they paid their mortgage every single month to be able to afford to live. And somehow they may be spending $4,000 a month on an apartment or for somewhere else that just doesn't make sense because it's not growing any equity at all into what they want to do and where they want to go. So that number was huge. And then you think of the FICO score. That's another thing that folks think of often is I've had some bumps in the road. We've all had some bumps in the road. We've all seen trying to figure out this game called credit where, I charge a little bit more on my credit card than, that 30% or whatever it is. And all of a sudden my score dropped 40 points, just because I paid it on time, but because algorithm says that I got too much, I'm using too much of the credit that they're telling me I have to have in order to do anything, right?
Yeah.
You have to have it, but you can't have it that much. I mean, whatever those games are, and as we learn it, but that's what is so neat about like a program like yours is where it just says, wait a minute, we understand life and we are mission based, and we are going to work with the individuals if they're willing to meet us halfway and do the things that we're asking to do in order to qualify for a loan. So I think I just love the fact that these options are available and maybe not known. There's just somehow in our heads we play this game of this is what I have to have because they talk to somebody else. And that's one thing that happens a lot is people go talk to folks in their sphere of influence because they say that, I understand that we probably associate with the people that are around the same income level that we are, around the same social statuses that we are. And when we've grown up and we've seen people like have gone, maybe grown up in project housing, like I have several, borrowers that are there and didn't have any family members that ever owned a home, they tend to talk to those folks. And those folks, are not, I would say, are not giving great advice because they're giving advice from a place that they don't know. What would you say, like CHFA does in that community space to kind of help folks not have conversations with people that don't know?
Right. No. So we just had one of these this past Saturday. We have just started. We have what's called Own Your Tomorrow homebuyer workshops, where we are going into community and having the community meet us there to learn the steps. And this is just very high level, just to kind of get a flavor, right, of what the home buying process looks like. So we invite any of your listeners to attend one of, we have 3 more workshops coming up this summer where they can be in a safe place to ask their questions, to be able to meet with trusted advisors that have shared experiences, right? And to really lean into that, because we are firm believers, not only in education, but in creating the right team for yourself. You're not, as a home buyer, you feel like you're by yourself, I think, a lot of the times, but you're really not if you've surrounded yourself with the right team members. And by that, I mean choosing a good housing counselor to go and ask your housing questions, but then also working with someone like you, Brian, that's invested in making sure people can achieve their dreams, and you're going to shoot them straight, right? You may tell them, hey, your credit just isn't quite there yet. Or if you want to achieve this, we may need to do this. But someone that's going to give them their options to keep them motivated and still on the right track, not discouraging them, right? It may be a no today, but it could be a yes tomorrow. And that goes with a good hiring a good realtor as well. So you have to really surround yourself with the right team. I totally get that people go and read reviews or you ask a friend or a family member. But the other thing that we really want an individual to do as when they ask, well, how do I know I'm choosing the right lender or realtor in this process? We really want individuals to interview them, right? And we, on our website, have some resources with some great interview questions, both for your real estate professional as well as your lender, because you want to be working with someone that answers your questions to your satisfaction, that's knowledgeable, that has experience, right? Assisting somebody in their same situation. And it's all about empowerment. We want that home buyer to be empowered and not scared. So giving a little bit of education and some guidance along the way, informing their team, we think is really critical.
That was cool. And when you said, I think of like a timeline, and one of the things that you brought up, Matt, was listening and how important listening is, and you have somebody come in who's scared, and you have to take the time to be able to listen and walk them through the process as comfortable as they can be. For some people, they're ready to go right now. Get me in a house right now. And some people, it might be 3-6 months. And whoever you're interviewing with, whether it's a real estate agent, a lender, or a pro, or whatever it is, that you're taking the time to educate yourself, that you can make really good decisions. And it's not somebody who's trying to hurry you up through that process. And that's where, I find, especially in this space when we're thinking about down payment assistance, is they're already scared. They're thinking that somebody's going to take something out, they're going to lose their home before they've even purchased a home, right? And they need that time for somebody to meet them at their level. And kind of, if you can, just talk a little bit about how do you meet people? How are you guys meeting people at their level when they come? I know one is the community events that kind of start, but what are some of the other ways in the process that you kind of meet people where they're at in order to get them over the threshold of getting a house?
Well, we're trying now that COVID is behind us, right? We can get back out there and we can go to events and festivals and teach classes and really just engage with people in the community because I think too, if someone has been turned down before, perhaps, right? If they see something that's too good to be true, we aren't going to have a lot of instant respect or trust. And so we're willing to do the time in forging those relationships. And as you know, Matt has said, and you reiterated, it's about the listening, and then following through with some action. So we have participated in a ton of festivals. We were just at Juneteenth, and that's where I got to meet you, Brian. That was a lovely experience. So, I mean, it's an event like that where you get to engage with the community, hear what their fears are, what their obstacles might be, and then maybe change their mind. Oh, I met with CHFA. They told me they have this. Let me do some more research on my own, or ask my lender, ask Brian, hey, is this for real? And, you know, together, again, building your team, we've created kind of that circle of trust. So we've been doing that. We have a whole new website that's dedicated to the community that we're inviting you to learn about the process, about CHFA, and then also about other resources that may be available to the community that CHFA doesn't offer, or that you can use in addition to CHFA's, you know, down payment assistance funds. So again, that's why it's really important to build the right team, because you want people that know all these options so that they can build the right package for you.
Oh, absolutely. Now, on the other side of that, because I said, you know, when I say you need to wait and go slow, I'm not talking about 5 years, right? What's the cost of waiting, you know, for folks that are just, you know, hey, they're ready, they can do it, they just don't know they can do it. Now you said, what is the cost of waiting, you know, for them if they don't pull the trigger, if they're just, you know, they're going too slow, I guess?
Well, I mean, I think that you said it beautifully right in your intro. I mean, I was at a conference and I heard an expert, and I love the way that he presented this, and that homeownership should be viewed as your greatest savings account, right? As you said, why would you want to be giving someone, you know, is it $1,800 in rent, $2,000 in rent every month for them to pay their mortgage when you could be using that to pay your own? Because when I say saving a mortgage account being a savings account, you're like, what are you talking about, Paige? I'm paying somebody money. They're taking it from me. Well, they are, but it's going towards something that's called appreciation and equity, right? That's where the savings comes into play at the end. When maybe you decide, or you have to move, or you just decide to sell the home, you hopefully have built up enough equity and appreciation in that home that you're walking away with other dollars in your pocket that you wouldn't have before. So at CHFA, we always, you know, it's the right time to buy when you feel it's the right time to buy, right? When you're confident, you're ready, you've got your ducks in a row, you've got your good team. But the bottom line is that home ownership is possible. And we want you to achieve it if you want to achieve it. And we're going to be here for you when you are ready.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We're kind of running to the end of our time here.
Yeah.
One more time on how to get a hold of you. You know, yes, websites, that kind of stuff. So
visit us, call us. We have a homeownership hotline. Again, the business development team will be there to answer your calls. That's 888-320-3688. You can also email us at homeownership@chfainfo.com, and you can visit our wonderful website with all of our tools and resources at chfainfo.com.
Well, thank you so much. And now I know that you guys, you know, just like you were saying today, things change, things, you know, move and adjust. And so I would ask, if things do change, that you guys would be willing to come back and talk to us and tell us these things are awesome, because the number one thing is, you know, people, I guess, die for lack of education or falter, not necessarily just die, but, you know, falter because of lack of education. We want to make sure every community that we're serving has the ability, if they, like you said, if they want to, for home ownership. And that's super important. And that's what this podcast is like. So thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Another edition of the Black Wealth Experience podcast. And we will have these guys back, I promise. And so we'll look forward to talking to you on the next one. Well, thank you for tuning into our podcast today. It has been a fantastic opportunity for us to show you exactly what we're trying to do in the community. And that is to help people to make sure that they have the ability to realize home ownership. And so my name is Brian Arnold. I am a lender. I'm with City First Financial. And so if you have questions, I'm not doing this podcast so that we can, rush all the business over to City First Financial. I'm doing this podcast so that we can make sure that you are taken care of, that you have a real estate agent, that you have a loan officer, that you have a credit repair person, that you have an insurance person, that you have a financial advisor, all working with you towards making your home ownership realization happen. We're also going to be talking about, wealth generation and what it means to pass on to the next generation. I do trusts and wills and making sure that the money that you've accumulated during your lifetime actually passes on to the next generation without going through a thing called probate. And so we want to make sure that we have some unique different things that we may have talked about on this thing that can help you think about what that's going to look like. So thank you again for communicating. Go ahead and subscribe to these YouTube channels, whether it's on YouTube that you're watching the video, or if you are just listening to this on a podcast, that you are subscribing to the podcast, because we are going to have some amazing guests that are coming on and some amazing content. So thank you for the blackwealthexperience.org and getting on that and just coming in and listening to us and then taking advantage of the resources that we're hopefully and education that we're hopefully giving to you. So you have a wonderful, awesome, incredible, awestruck day. You are God's greatest gift, and I want to make sure that you know that. Talk with you guys soon.